Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we will finish the entire Platline. That's it. Here is the the rhodium line. Very long. So let's start here on the left. We start on the very top left with our platinum residue dust. This is from the basic Platline. We combine this in an EBF with molten potassium disulfate, which we get from potassium disulfate, which you get from an LCR. We will supply this LCR with sulfur dust and oxygen. The potassium dust is going to be recycled. From the EBF, we get our leach residue dust, which is saved for the next step. And we also get rhodium sulfate. This we combine with water. We get a little bit more leach residue dust, the rhodium sulfate solution, and we get molten potassium. The molten potassium we recycle back into potassium dust, while the rhodium sulfate solution is what we process further to get rhodium. We combine this with zinc dust in an LCR to get crude rhodium metal dust. We also get zinc sulfate dust, which we're just going to electrolyze back into zinc, and we'll get some of our sulfur back and some of our oxygen, but it's not a full refund. The crude rhodium metal dust we combine with salt and chlorine in an EBF to get rhodium salt dust. The rhodium salt dust we mix with water to get rhodium salt solution. This we combine in an LCR with sodium nitrate. That gives us rhodium nitrate dust and salt. I have failed to draw an arrow here, but there's an arrow here. Rhodium nitrate dust goes into a sifter. You get rhodium filter cake dust. And again, we mix this with water, and that gets us rhodium filter cake solution. That goes into an LCR by itself, giving us reprecipitated rhodium dust, which we combine with hydrochloric acid to get rhodium dust, chlorine, and ammonia. So all this gets us approximately 22.57 rhodium dust. And we started with 110 platinum residue dust. And we only have 1.3k platinum residue dust. So a fifth of that is how much rhodium we're going to get, which is not a lot. One thing I need to do before the Platline that I can't believe I still haven't done is automate nitric acid. And I'm just going to use this recipe because it's a simple one-step recipe. It's just ammonia plus oxygen gets you nitric acid and water, which I'm going to trash. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that in the chemicals building because, of course, nitric acid is used all over the place. But I'm also going to gather up the rest of the machines I need, and I'm going to dig out a new space here. But now we're going to start hitting the river, so I'm not sure how I want to do this exactly. First, I want to expand the building, and I have this kind of border here. I kind of have an idea for a vertical type of build here. I'm going to hollow out this square, I guess, and then I'm going to build more kind of subsections like this under the river. I was thinking about just expanding like onto the river, but the HamCorp board decided against that. So instead we're going to build under the river and have a glass ceiling. I'm going to center this square on this like ore processing brain, I guess. And I want to do some stuff with lapis callistus pretty soon, I think. Because the longer I use these anti-blocks, the more anti-blocks I'm going to have to replace. But for now I'm going to continue working on the Platline. Alright, I don't know how to deal with this. This is horrible. Okay, I have a medium voltage fluid tank, and I'm going to use these buckets to remove all of these source blocks. Okay, so this is not going as I envisioned. Well, actually, it's not bad. It's just, it's kind of cramped. And now I'm kind of realizing I don't know how much space I actually need. So I might need to expand in some direction, and I'm not sure. I don't know. And I think I'm actually not going to fully complete this build right now. I think I'm going to finish the Platline and like expand as I need, and then I will make it look good with like bit and anti-blocks and whatever. Because I think it is quite unwise to box myself in, especially when I haven't planned out the entire Platline, so I don't know how much space I need. So let's get started with rhodium, and I will continue building as I go along. Where'd all these bats come from, man? Here is the glass roof. There's water above and then a layer of ice on top of that. I managed to stop the dripping. Actually, the tinted glass doesn't let water drip through, which is very nice. But for all of this bit, I just added another layer on top. So there's no more dripping. I saw a little drip just a second ago. Oh, there it is. I'm going to clean it up, actually. I decided that I don't want these to go back any further. I don't know why I decided that, but I did. So I'm going to try and fit all of the machines in here as much as I can, and whenever I need more space, I'm going to expand this way. And then on the other side of this wall, I'm going to have the next Platline metal, which I think is ruthenium, but I'm not sure if I want to do it at the same altitude or if I want to go down a little bit, kind of like what I did over there. I think I do want to do this. So I will go down another 2 squares, which probably means I won't have this glass ceiling. But okay, I yapped a while already about the rhodium processing, so I'm just going to throw this together. Rhodium is done. This is quite a mess of machines. I should probably hide all of these from what was formerly the ore processing controller, which is now the Platline controller. I brought a big fat dense cable. I could have used the P2P for this, but whatever. Brought it all the way down here, and I have this supplying all of my machines. Some of these are randomly painted yellow just because I ran out of cables and I had painted cables, so I just used those. The colors don't mean anything because everything is on the same net. Overall, this was not terribly complicated. I just followed my flowchart, and this is this. The machine placements are a little strange. Like the sifter is here, but the inputs and outputs of the sifter are all the way here. So yeah, it might be hard to troubleshoot if I need to upgrade something or if something goes wrong. Thank you, Thaumcraft. But it works. I mean, I'm getting my rhodium. So I've noticed that the slowest step in this whole process is this fucking fluid extractor. It is so slow, and now it's not running, and I don't know why. Aha! That's a problem. Yeah, this is a very slow step, and it's actually the bottleneck in this whole process. So I thought about making the multi-block version of the fluid extractor, but actually that's not an option right now because it's the large processing factory. And that is going to be removed in the future and replaced with 9 different multi-blocks. So I'd rather just let this run at a terrible rate. Whenever that update comes out, I will just remove this extractor, plop down the new one, and then use applied energistics to route things around. I did like the idea of expanding into the walls, but that was not really necessary for rhodium. But I might do that for the next metal, which is ruthenium. But first I need to do all of these rhodium quests. So here is the ruthenium line. It's actually pretty simple. There is not a single loop in sight. Well, there are some things you could loop, but they're not like perfect loops. It's either you make too much or you make too little, so I'm just not going to bother. So starting from the left, salt and water in a mixer gets you salt water. Makes sense. Salt water, saltpeter, and leach residue dust in a mixer. Make rarest metal residue dust, sodium ruthenate, and steam. The steam I'm just going to void. The rarest metal residue dust is for later. And the sodium ruthenate I combine with chlorine in an LCR to get ruthenium tetroxide solution. That is combined with steam. This steam should be red. Oops, my bad. In an oil cracker to get hot ruthenium tetroxide solution. You could also do this in a fluid heater, but if you do it in an oil cracker, you get double the amount. This goes in a quad distillation tower because the recipe is really slow, but I expect this to be the rate limiting step, so I decided to go for a quad distillation tower. From this distillation, you get salt and water, which are gonna go back in storage and going to be voided. Actually, I think they're both going to be voided because we have infinite salt. So yeah, so I'm just gonna void both of them. We also get ruthenium tetroxide. This is different than ruthenium tetroxide solution. Very clear, definitely not confusing. But the ruthenium tetroxide, we fluid solidify into dust, which we then combine with hydrochloric acid in an LCR to get ruthenium. So yeah, so no loops, very linear, pretty straightforward. I have expanded the room. There's a billion bats here as well. I kind of ran into the maintenance tunnels. This goes to the farm and the Thaumcraft tower. And I think also the control tower. Yeah, we still haven't cleaned out the guck that was here. Still don't know what this is. Anyway, I decided instead of rerouting this maintenance tunnel, I'm just going to incorporate it into the build, and I think it looks pretty good. I also cleaned up all of the walls, so it's all nice bit now. No more random cobblestone and stone. The floor is still like that, but that's just because this is still a work in progress. Now to actually put together the ruthenium line. Alright, we have ruthenium done. Comments I want to make? I put in this blast furnace sideways, and you can do this by using a wrench to rotate your blast furnace. I had to do this because the maintenance tunnel over here was in the way. I just put it on its side, and this works. And I actually really like this. I feel like it makes the top and bottom a lot more accessible. Yeah, like I don't have to look up and configure things. I can just do it normally. Quad distillation tower here. Calling it a tower is a bit of a stretch, but here it is. But yeah, basically just followed the flowchart. Next, we have osmium, which is a very simple line. However, this distillation step needs an IV energy hatch. I could do 2 EV energy hatches, I guess, but I kind of don't want to. I'd rather push progression a little more and make the IV energy hatch. And I don't immediately need osmium, so this can wait. So instead, I'm going to go for this one. The iridium line. These are the last 2 steps, and it doesn't matter which order you do them, because basically, you take the rarest metal residue dust, mix it with hydrochloric acid in an EBF, and you get acidic osmium solution, which is the start of the other line that I just showed, and iridium metal residue dust. That you can blast, and you get some more different dusts, which you can combine with hydrochloric acid or centrifuge into byproducts. Then you get more acidic iridium solution, which you combine with ammonium chloride in a loop. This gives you iridium chloride and ammonia. Iridium chloride combines with calcium to give you iridium dust. And then everything else is either a byproduct or part of a loop. So still quite simple. Not as simple as osmium, obviously. But I think so far, palladium was actually the most complicated one to deal with. The rest of these are all fairly straightforward. I mean, it's not straightforward, but by GTNH standards, this is pretty straightforward. Cool, so this is where the osmium and iridium are both going to be processed. In fact, this ruthenium line, I only ended up using 11 channels here. So I just branched off of this dense channel cable, and I'm going to use the remaining 21 cables for osmium and iridium. I think it'll be enough. One thing I'm not sure about though is, first of all, these factory blocks, I don't think I'm going to keep them. They're a little bit too bright, I think. Or they stand out too much. I think I'm going to replace them with something else, but I'm not sure what. But I guess we'll see. And another thing is I don't know, like, should I extend this down more and make space for more things? I don't think I really want to, but because of that, I don't know what to put at the bottom here. In my brain, this is just going to be like a deep bottomless pit. Because here at HamCorp, we adhere to safety standards. But I don't know. I mean, I could simulate that just with the black anti-blocks, same as how we did it at the brain. Maybe there's something else I could do here that could look more interesting. So yeah, I don't know what to do here. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments or on Discord. But now I'm gonna go gather up the machines for iridium and also for osmium minus that one IV energy hatch. And I think I'm gonna try and do that this episode. I don't know how long it has been so far because I haven't edited yet. If there's time, I'm gonna do it. Otherwise, next episode. I have changed my mind. I'm just going to use 2 EV energy hatches for the distillation tower because this has already backed up. This is going to back up really quickly. So I have to process this acidic osmium. I don't really want to store it. So I'm just going to use two EV energy hatches on a distillation tower and call it a day. And here it is, osmium and iridium. Definitely made way too much space. I'd rather have too much space than too little. Again, I'd rather have too much space than too little. So some comments here. Well, not many, just one comment really. I put in a battery buffer capable of 4 amps because that's what we need for the osmium processing. I wasn't totally confident in our current power network to be able to handle this if everything else is also going. Here I have one centrifuge that is processing 2 of our byproducts, the sludge dust residue dust and the metallic sludge dust residue dust. Great names, by the way. And this output bus is going to lead to... And this output bus is actually going to go straight back to the mainnet. More importantly, our iridium is done. This final step in the iridium processing is pretty slow, but that's okay. And yeah, our osmium is also done. So everything is done. This is it. This is the full Platline. Let's do a quick little recap because this is quite long. So from our platinum metallic powder dust, we get platinum. The palladium enriched ammonia gets turned into palladium over here, and the residue dust gets processed to other stuff downstairs. So first, we extract rhodium, then we extract ruthenium, then we extract iridium, and finally we're left with osmium. This was a lot of fun. This is probably the most fun I've had so far. The Platline is long and kind of intimidating, but it is very satisfying. Now, of course, I do still need to finish up these quests. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will continue on progression, making the IV circuit assembler. Also, it's about time we do the division sigil activation ritual. As you can see, we have a lot of anti-blocks to replace with lapis lazuli. Why does that say hog? That's not good.